Happening today, the Portland City Council is set to vote on a resolution guiding how the city should respond to federal agents. The Protect Portland initiative is not a new law, but it does direct city staff to take action.
So this morning, we're diving into the deep end and taking a closer look at this resolution. And joining us more to talk about it all is Council Vice President Tiffany Koyama Lane, who represents District 3 and is one of the counselors behind this push. So good morning, Counselor. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get right into it. How is this different from the other proposals councilors have put on the table, and how does this fit into the larger efforts by the city council as a whole to respond to federal action?
Thank you. Great question. Resolutions in general are used for more administrative tasks, directives of the executive branch. That would be the mayor and city administrator. Ordinance generally are more about creating and adjusting local laws. Both are important, but a lot of what you'll see in this initiative are directions to the mayor and to the city administrator, to that executive branch.
And there are a lot of calls we're hearing, for the city to push back against the federal government. Does this now meet all those demands?
We have a long road ahead of us, and this is seen as a first step, setting the table for other actions that we need to take and look into as a city council. And you will notice that testimony will be taken tonight with this resolution and an ordinance to codify our sanctuary status and do a couple other things. So we have more things ahead of us for sure. But the idea of this resolution is that it's really setting the stage and is a first step in bringing the council together alongside the executive branch to say, we have work to do and we're going to stand up for our constituents, for Portlanders.
And on the other side of this, how are you guys planning to respond to the people who support ICE's activity and the federal crackdown as a whole?
My focus right now is making sure that we are standing firm in our values, doubling down on protecting all Portlanders, and making sure that this isn't a time where we're going to simply just comply and be silent. So I think that message is that I personally was elected by my constituents to stand for my values and protect our community, and that's what I plan to do.
And are you worried at all that doing this, that this move could risk even more attention from President Trump, potentially more federal cuts to Portland?
I hear that concern. I think it's a risk. I think this is a time where we do have to have a lot of courage. It's not a time to be silent and comply. And it is a time to stand in our values. And to be quite frank, my own grandparents during World War II were taken from their homes and forced into incarceration camps because many folks were silent and thought that complying was the best. And what we got out of that was many Japanese Americans being put into US concentration camps. So this is a time where we're seeing history repeat itself in many ways, and we have to stand up and not think that being silent or complying is going to make President Trump treat us any better. I think it's very clear that President Trump does not want to help Portland. He is literally bringing violence to our streets.
And you've been working closely with Council President Alana Pertle-Guiney, Councilor Candace Avalos, and Councilor Olivia Clark on this. Have you heard from other councilors as well as Mayor Keith Wilson about how they feel about this proposal?
I'm hearing widespread support that we continue to double down on making sure as electeds and also as employers who have thousands of employees here at the city. Part of this resolution is really a response to questions and urging that we've had from some of our staff, from many of our staff within the city of Portland. I have heard a lot of councilors saying that they are ready to stand up and fight for their constituents and also, frankly, fight for democracy. Because while this is about Portland, we have many other cities watching us. This is about Portland. This is also about the state. It's about other cities, and it's about the whole nation too.
And before we let you go, can you tell us which parts of this initiative are most important to you?
Oh, that's a great question. There are a lot of different parts to it. Folks can now go on to the City of Portland's website to look at the full text. It is kind of a lot. I will say the piece around having the Portland Police Bureau establish a process for investigating potential crimes by impersonators of ICE agents is incredibly important. Extending state and city sanctuary policies to city contractors, that is also something that I think is important. And the I guess I'm saying quite a few things here. um, Directing the mayor to have a citywide preparedness plan. While we don't know exactly what's going to be thrown at us, being able to prepare as much as possible and know that there is a plan is very important.
And I know there's a piece in this too where, yeah, it's directing Portland police to identify any officers who aren't being identified and detaining people, and then they're supposed to identify these federal officers and then document that. What are you guys hearing from Portland police about this? Are they on board to do that? It sounds like some extra work for their officers.
I'm hearing that the Portland Police Bureau leadership is supportive, that we should expect to hear their support actually within this meeting. We have some letters coming from leadership saying that they are on board to make sure that they're keeping our community members safe.
And how confident are you that this proposal will be passed by the council?
I'm very confident that it's going to pass. My hope is that it passes 12-0. You never know until you actually get to the meeting, but I expect it to pass and be close to unanimous as you can get. 12-0, maybe 11-1, maybe 10-2, but I'm hoping for 12-0.
Yeah, we'll of course be closely tracking this.
Yeah.
Portland City Council Vice President Tiffany Koyama Lane, thank you so much for joining us this morning and providing us with that helpful information.
Yeah,
Thank you to you both.
Today, the Portland City Council is set to vote on a resolution guiding how the city should respond to federal agents. The Protect Portland initiative is not a new law, but it does direct city staff to take action.
So this morning, we're diving into the deep end and taking a closer look at this resolution. And joining us now is Councilor Candace Avalos, who represents District 1. Councilor, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great. How are you all?
Doing very well. Thanks for joining us. Let's get right into it. What parts of this initiative do you think are the most important?
Yeah, so the Protect Portland initiative is a framework. This is to align all parts of city government around one mission, which is protecting Portlanders from unconstitutional federal militarization and reaffirming our values of equity, safety, and local democracy. So this is really about building on our longstanding identity as a sanctuary city, creating a preparedness plan for the city at large and with contractors that are working with us, and a foundation for future protections as we see that the Trump administration continues to threaten more aggressive tactics on our city.
And this isn't the first thing that the council has put forth. How is this different from the other proposals that you guys have put on the table? And how does it fit into the larger efforts by city council to respond to federal action?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, this being a framework, this is about bringing together what all of the councilors are proposing, but giving a value statement and also asking the administration to take specific actions to protect Portlanders across all of the bureaus. Because councilors no longer directly control bureaus in this new form of government, this is directing this executive action, but it's also a blueprint to align all of the different actions that I, along with other councilors, are going to be proposing in the coming weeks. So this is really just a start. And we're already exploring a bunch of different ordinances and legal tools that we're going to need to strengthen protections going forward.
And Councilor, we know one of the main points of this resolution is for Portland Police to ask federal officers detaining people to identify themselves and the agency they work for and to document that. So how will this particular resolution be implemented?
Yeah, these protocols are really designed to make sure that Portland Police stays locally accountable and keep their trust with Portlanders, right? We've heard from our own officers, that aggressive ICE enforcement really makes their job harder. And when federal agents hide their identities, it creates fear and people stop calling 911 and reporting crimes. So this establishes some clear guardrails that PPB cannot be deputized or co-opted by federal agencies without the city's consent. It requires written protocols and trainings for every every officer to ensure that they're following these protections rigorously. And there have been national reports of people impersonating ICE agents to target immigrants. And so we are explicitly calling that out and ensuring that we have protocols to help prevent that. We are grateful that Portland Police Chief Day supports this resolution because in his mind, it makes it clear that PPP serves Portlanders and not a federal deportation agenda.
Well, that's great to hear that Chief Day supports this. Sorry, I couldn't find the word there. But this is going to be like extra work for these officers. Are you expecting to get any pushback from the officers, maybe if this ends up being implemented?
You know, I think there's always going to be some kind of questions, right, about how to do the implementation. But I think what's important about this is this initiative is really designed to work within existing resources and systems that we have. So this is about coordination, not about making costly new programs. Any costs will depend on like the scale of implementation, but we expect those to be minimal. And a lot of things are actually currently underway. So really, this is just building on the momentum and current steps that police and other parts of the administration are already taking.
And we know a lot of talk has been coming out of Washington from the Trump administration about pulling federal funds from cities like Portland. Is the council worried at all that this move could, risk more attention from President Trump and potentially impact more federal cuts to Portland?
We cannot expect reasonable behavior from President Trump. And so I am not making my decisions on what I think he might do. He has already clearly made us a target, and we have to protect ourselves. We have to protect our sovereignty as local officials, and we have to protect Portlanders. I don't care where those threats are coming from, even if they're from the President of the United States. So as far as I'm concerned, the threat is already here. Any additional threats of taking more funding is more, bluster and bluffing that I'm calling him on, essentially. And we, again, are going to take these steps regardless of what he is threatening us.
And what kind of timeline can we expect from this initiative to be fully implemented?
Yeah, I mean, I think that timeline kind of depends on what happens. We've got a couple of court decisions that are coming down that will affect the implementation and scale. But ultimately, this is the long game here. We are looking at possibly several years of having to put up this protective front against the federal government. So I expect definitely in the next coming weeks and months for the main implementation of, the processes, the contractor trainings, those kinds of things. But I suspect this is going to be an ongoing effort. Again, that's going to be coupled by a lot of other legislation that I and other councilors are going to be bringing to the table in the coming months.
Can you explain maybe the roadblocks that you guys are expecting maybe for this?
Yeah, I think ultimately, it's important for people to understand that while the federal government, of course, in a lot of ways has more power than us or they can take certain steps without us, that does not mean that we are powerless. That does not mean that the city council does not have power over how we govern and make decisions in our city. And so I think those are going to be the constant roadblocks of determining who has the power to say and do what in our city. And those are the things we're litigating in court. But those are also the ways that this initiative is hoping to create and establish policies and protocols to continue to build that firewall against the federal government.
And we know this resolution says there will be possible costs associated with the new public education campaign and additional training. So how will that be paid for?
Yeah, and like I mentioned, we expect minimal costs. A lot of what is in the resolution is already underway, can be done with existing city staff and existing city resources. Any costs that could come with, making some additional trainings, for example, for contractors, we expect to be really minimal.
And just last question really quickly, how confident are you that this is going to pass in the vote today?
I am really proud that I'm bringing this resolution with 3 of my colleagues, 1 from each district, which is somewhat symbolic, but also to show that the council is really behind this. I feel like we've got good momentum. We have lots of organizations that have endorsed this. So I'm really hoping for a 12-0 vote on this today.
Okay.
Portland City Councilor Candace Avalos, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.